everybody. Oh, wow. Okay, first of all, there's so many incredible leaders who are a part of this afternoon and who have been a part of this campaign from the beginning, and we're going to count on them to lead us through these next 32 days to victory. But I want to thank them. Shelby Parks, our field organizer. The great Governor Steve Sisolak. I was just hanging out with him behind the stage. Of course, Congresswoman Titus, for all that she does. She is just a fighter in Washington. Senators Jackie Rosen and Catherine Cortez Masto. They were going to be here, but they wanted to stay in D.C. because they're fighting to bring home relief to Nevada. And they are waging a good fight. They are fighting to make sure we take care of working people in America. I want to thank UNLV for hosting us today. Mariachi Tierra, Jay Massino, everybody for the work that you do. All right, so here. Is this working? There we go. There is so much at stake in this election. There is so much at stake, and we've got 32 days to get this done. And we're going to get it done. And here's the thing. This campaign, our campaign, as Joe says, is about fighting for the soul of our nation. And when Joe talks about fighting for the soul of our nation, it's about fighting for working people. It's about fighting for families. It's about fighting for children. It's about fighting for health care. It's about fighting for good union jobs. It's about fighting to preserve our climate and clean air and clean water. It's about fighting for a pathway to citizenship for our brothers and sisters and renewing protections under DACA. There is so much on the line in this election, and there is not a thing we can take for granted. Not a thing we can take for granted. We are here fighting for the soul of our nation, saying, yes, we can get criminal justice reform and policing reform. Yes, we can do what is necessary to bring health care to everybody because we believe access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. These are the things that are on the line in this election. And we've got 32 days to get it done. And I don't need to tell my cousins in Nevada about the change we see coming with the work we are doing. The change we see coming when we know here in Nevada, we have the highest unemployment of any state in the country. When there has been incredible devastation because of a failure of an administration to take seriously a public health crisis and then do what is necessary to support working people. But we see the change coming. But we know it will not come without our investment in this fight. We have a vision of the future. Our campaign and the work, the hard work, the sacrifice we will make over the next 32 days is born out of knowing what is possible. And that is so much bigger than fighting against something. It's about the fight we're in for something, for the people, all the people. That's what our fight is about. And the thing about it, and this is what I love about Joe, you know, you can talk about how you measure strength. You know, some people say, well, look at my muscles. You know, yeah, that might be one way. But the thing that I love about Joe, I mean, he could also say, yeah, look at my muscles. But the thing about Joe is that he understands the greatest strength that any of us, that any human being has, is displayed when we lift up the condition of other people. That's the strength of who we are. The strength of who we are. And therefore, the power of the people is knowing that when we are together, when we are joined, when we are unified, when we don't allow people to try and divide us and turn on each other, we are strong. We are strong. And so in spite of all we've been experiencing, folks, don't let anybody make you feel alone. Don't let any circumstance make you feel isolated, because we are all in this together. We are all in this together. But to achieve the change we can see coming, we got to vote. We got to vote. And so, what do we want to do? Honk if you're going to vote early. Honk if you're going to vote by mail. Honk if you're going to make sure at least 5 people you know going to vote. 10 people you know. And here's the thing. None of us are immune. We've been reading it. We know what's going on around the country. There's some powerful people in our country that are trying to make it difficult for folks to vote. Did you guys see what happened in Texas yesterday? The governor of Texas, the Republican governor of Texas, basically started getting rid of the drop boxes in Texas. Yeah, that's what they're doing. So here's the thing. You know, the right to vote was a hard-fought and a hard-won right. In fact, one of the biggest events that I attended before the pandemic struck was to walk across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Alabama with now the great ancestor, John Lewis, who shed his blood on that bridge for folks to vote. We honor the ancestors when we vote. Just last month, we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, when those suffragettes, those powerful women, marched and fought for the right for women in America to vote. We also recognize that it wasn't until 1965 that Black women could vote. So we know there is still work to do, and that we are a country of work in progress. But this is the history of our right to vote. Our right to vote was a hard-fought and won right, which we will never let anybody take from us. But we know there are obstacles around the country being put in our way. We know there are powerful people trying to suggest that you can't trust the process, trying to suggest it's rigged or it's this or it's that. But we know better. We know better. And here's the thing I want to also point out. At some point, in addition to voting, it's got to be about honoring the ancestors. And in addition to voting, it has to be about knowing what's at stake. And also, we got to just sit back sometimes and ask, why are so many powerful people trying to mess with our right to vote? Like, just sit back and ask that for a minute. Why are so many powerful people going through such difficulty to try and mess with our right to vote? And here's what I believe the answer is. Because they know when we vote, things change. They know when we vote, things get better. And so Nevada, never let anybody take your power. We will not let anybody take our power. We will use our power. We will vote. We know our vote is our voice. We know what is at stake. And we know we are all in this together, in this fight for the soul of our nation. And it is a fight born out of love of our country, knowing what can be, unburdened by what has been. Thank you, Nevada.